has kind of popped out to you as we hop into game number one here between Pedro and Sosaa. Pedro, bottom of your screen, Sosaa at the top. And, as we talked about before, Sosaa pulling off the upset yesterday. This would be another upset, Juice.
Yeah, this would be a big one. Thinking about the meta, I think we will see a lot of RG again today, like you said. But I am really interested in the Royal Hogs. I think that Royal Hogs are really strong. They have a lot of potential, and you can use them in a lot of different decks. And apparently we're going to be seeing some more Goblin Hunt as well.
I always see cards or decks that are just, they're played once in a set and not even in every single set. Like, we've seen RG in almost every single set,
right?
But it always shocks me when you get like similar mirror matchups or similar cards that only pop up once every now and then boom, we just start the day with them. Like Goblin Hut was a card that we saw a decent amount yesterday. I think, as you discussed quite a bit yesterday, there's an interesting building situation going on in Clash Royale where I think everyone's trying to figure out what's the best building to run most of the time. And I think, honestly, and correct me if I'm wrong, to you it sounds like most things, including win conditions, but also buildings, are all kind of rock, paper, scissory a little bit right now, because some are so good in matchups and other ones are just completely useless.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head there. I think that a lot of buildings, like I think a lot of the time in CRL or just in Clash Royale history in general, we've seen like one building be very dominant in a meta. But now, since all the buildings are fairly balanced, it's definitely a good thing, but it also makes it so that, you don't really know which building you want to use, and certain buildings are only good versus certain win conditions, etc.
So we will see how this Goblin Hut fares here. Both players not quite pulling the trigger on their win condition. There goes Pedro, and this is what I was talking about yesterday. It's so interesting to see the Goblin Hut played in such different locations than we ever saw before. There was really only a few spots you ever used to play spawners, and that was in the middle of the map or behind your Princess Towers. And now we're seeing them played up higher at the bridge, closer to your own Princess Tower to defend, because again, it's about proximity to get these goblins out on the board. Nice damage in early here from Pedro.
Yeah, he's switching lanes here as well. I don't mind that play. Get the Evil Hunter out of cycle on the other lane, and another weird Goblin Hunt placement like you're mentioning. Just trying to get the goblins spawning in and take advantage of that HP. But the monk's going to deflect all those spear gods, and here comes the RG in the left lane with that Evil Hunter, and there's no Goblin Hunt in cycle. Oh, he cycled back.
And there it is. Goblin Hut comes down just in time with the retarget of the Goblin Giant. The Berserker's in this. I don't know if we saw any Goblin Giant at all yesterday, maybe only once. And then today we're starting the day off with it. We saw Berserker once because I couldn't even remember her name. And here she is once again here. And kind of like what you and I talked about yesterday, we do have a strong ground tank, right, with the Berserker in here, with the Goblin Giant. Even the guards can kind of help tank on the ground just a little bit. But the Berserker just in there to put in great DPS defensively. So it looks like Pedro is using that card, that new card, very well. As the RG misses the tower with that new kind of range targeting that's been happened, like the sight range with all the units. So we see a second Goblin Hut have to come down with the retarget from the Goblin Doctor.
Pedro's rolling with the punches here, though. He's getting some Goblin Huts down. He's cycling very quickly. He's going to have Evo Snowball and cycle now as well. There's about 10 seconds until triple elixir overtime, and he's going to sneak in another Evo Bomber hit on the tower. If he's able to hold the line and defend here, he will be successful. He will win this game.
Yeah, this is a really fascinating deck because, with the Goblin Giant out, you look at the rest of the cards other than his win condition. The most expensive card is his building at 4, and the building, as you see right here, being played a little bit offensively. So while this deck looks a little bit kind of Frankenstein together, it seems to have some great synergy.
Wow,
Great Evo Snowball there.
Yeah, you can see Sosaa just really upset. As soon as he saw that Evo Snowball, he realized he didn't have anything in cycle. There's no log, there's no Barbarian Barrel in his deck here, so those goblins are unstoppable. He only has 25 seconds to get this RG through, but there's 2 Goblin Huts blocking the lane.
And this is not, honestly, too dissimilar from what we saw Sosaa win with yesterday, in the sense of, you saw that entire game, it was almost like Samuel was like, what am I playing against? How do I win this game number 2 that they were in? It felt like Sam was just trying to adjust the whole game. And honestly, it kind of felt like that this game with Sosaa. It felt like he was trying to find a way to get on offense, trying to find a way to break through Goblin Huts. That Goblin Stein ability and the Doctor were doing a great job resetting. And the drill would just come in at perfect times, and then boom.
It has a little bit more oomph. Obviously, the radius isn't as big. And then I think you got to put Log always at that third spot.
Yeah.
Or maybe even at the second spot. Log is just such a strong spell, and even after the Crown Tower damage nerf, it's still so versatile.
I love that after all these years, all the cards added to the game, Log is still just the OG.
I know. It's just, I don't know. Ever since they released it, it's just so good. I mean, think about it. It's easily psychable. It can defend and hit your opponent's tower at the same time with the long range. And also, it's just so cheap. Being at 2 elixir, you're just able to make easy predictions. I think that's another thing that people don't talk about enough with the Log, is that it's so much easier to make a prediction play with a Log than it is with a Zap, because it stays on the board for so long. You can even go for a pre-log with your Hog Rider, and it will just follow the Hog Rider all the way through. Even if it doesn't hit anything, it's preventing your opponent from playing something when they want to.
That's a really good point that you make, and a really good point that you made earlier was about Royal Hogs, right? And here we go, game number 2 and game number 1 from Sosaa, just going kind of right down the line of what was most successful yesterday. Even though that RG deck he ran in game number 1 wasn't quite what he needed, and also maybe it was just kind of a crazy matchup there that Pedro gave him, but he's going RG game 1, Piggy's game 2, and I think this is just exactly what Sosaa needs to do.
Yeah. And I believe that Royal Hog should have a pretty solid matchup versus Hog Rider here, mainly just because it's a little bit more difficult to stop the Royal Hogs with a cannon than it is a Hog Rider.
How do you feel about the champion conversation in this matchup, the AQ versus the Boss Bandit, and no big spells on the board?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. I think that the Boss Bandit is a little bit better versus the Archer Queen, just because if the Archer Queen does play the ability, you can go for the Boss Man ability to kind of let the Archer Queen use all of its arrows, if you will, and then at that point, hopefully you're able to win the champion bridge battle. Looks like Sosaa's going to win this one, though, but he's also... Ooh. Wow, that was just a nice Firecracker play to really break through there.
And Piggies come down the lane. Late Ice Spirit and Skellies. Good Earthquake there from Sosaa, so a Log has to come out. Still gets a couple nibbles on the tower. 2183, 2205. Sosaa in the lead by just a hair.
Yeah, and you can really see already, like that Hog Rider, it didn't make it to the tower, just barely, especially with that King activated. But these Royal Hogs, I mean, they're going to be constantly applying pressure with the Earthquake. He doesn't get the Earthquake down right now for some reason, but it's just a little bit more difficult to stop the consistency of the Hogs.
Nice adjustment there from both these guys on their sends. Pedro sending up a high Ice Spirit to catch the Ice Spirit that kind of did him dirty last push, and that Evo Cannon, such a great get out of jail free card.
Yeah, the other big get out of jail free card here is the Ice Spirit. Using your Evil Ice Spirit effectively versus the Royal Hogs and the Hog Rider is just so important.
And Firecracker end up able to push those Piggies towards that cannon in the middle. No damage in with those skeletons coming down. 2024 to 1887 as the Earthquake cycle comes in, and I'm sure all you Hog players are very familiar with Hog EQ and Royal Hog EQ similar matchups or mirror matchups, and a lot of that becomes just a couple Hog hits through and a lot of Earthquake cycling. So we'll see if Sosaa can kind of get this lead back, or if Pedro's going to continue to hold the line with just defense and EQs.
Wow. And Pedro actually loses his Boss Bandit here. Something that's very important at the very end of a match like this is keeping your champion alive to keep your 3-card cycle activated so that you can play more Earthquakes and more Hog Riders. But the Hog gets a hit!
Wow!
That's a game-winning connection from the Hog. That's absolutely clutch.
Yeah, that's huge. And you can see it right there on Sosaa's face, kind of a big sigh. You see kind of the grimace on his face. He knows, just as I was kind of discussing, when you've played this matchup a bunch, I mean, there's still a chance. There's always a chance that something can happen, but Pedro knows his lead is good, so he's not going to do anything too crazy, put himself in a dangerous situation. He's going to try to send in the Hog for a little bit of, defensive elixir from Sosaa, but as you can see here, guys, he's just going to lock down that defense, sends in the Hog late. that's going to do it. GG, well played. Sosa's run comes to an end. He was able to make it through to day 2. He gets the $500. He gets to say he was able to take down Sam and survive, and he is here on CRL Warmup day 2. That's already an accomplishment in and of itself, but we will be saying goodbye to him now.